Get started. And if, as we move forward in this conversation, if you're in the audience and you have a question, feel free to pop that in at any time, or you can be brave and use the call-in feature and join us on the screen. But all right, it looks like everything is going well. So, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Critical Social Worker, a revolutionary storytelling podcast. I don't know what episode it is. I always try to remember and then I forget because I'm backed up like 5 or 6 recording or producing them and recording them. So I think we're on 70 something. But either way, whatever the number is, I'm very happy to be joined by Manicka Thomas and Christie Robinson. I'll get to you in just a minute, Christie. But how are you today, Manicka?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm excited to talk with you both today.
Yeah, me too. And you're in Ohio, yeah?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're connected all over the world. I'm in Honoka'a, Hawaii. A lot of the people in the audience are going to be in Alaska and elsewhere. Christie's in Tennessee, and you're in Ohio. So we're in 4 different time zones, pretty much, and
Wow.
maybe more.
The
But
internet is an amazing place.
yes, it is. In some ways, we can't live without it, but in some ways, it's empowered us in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, you got all kinds of things going on. When I first heard about you, when they were connecting us online and all that,
Mm-hmm.
obviously I think they posted our web pages and stuff in there, and I was looking, I was like, wow, Manicka's doing all sorts of like crazy good stuff that I wish I knew about. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna pop your website in here, but tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you got going on? What are you doing for social workers?
Okay. So my name is Manicka. So thank you for the introduction and for your kind words. Finding my content online. So my background is I have a bachelor's degree in social work. That's I went to school in Tennessee. It was a private school that most people haven't heard about. So I obtained my bachelor's degree from there. Then I transitioned to an advanced standing program at the Ohio State University for my master's degree. I did a specialization in school social work. That's truly where my passion lies: is working with kids, working in schools. I was always like a really good student in school, so I knew that when I grew up, I wanted to be able to give back to the institution that poured so much into me. And then I had some struggles in school too, with bullying and just trying to find myself and understand how I fit into my peer group. So, but academically, I enjoy school. So I knew that I wanted to go back and give my time and my expertise to working in schools. So as my career kind of transitioned, I had a really hard time when I graduated with my master's degree finding a school social work role. So because I went to school in Columbus at Ohio State, they had a social work track in schools. They had school social workers. They were linked with the school district. So they had everything in place that, a school social worker could go right into a role. But when I went back to my hometown, we didn't have school social workers in our district. Not to where I knew how to access it. It wasn't like this direct link between um, you getting the degree and then going to your school district and then applying for a role. So I was distraught. Like I got this master's degree, thinking I was going to be doing the same thing in my internship that I would do for my career, and I couldn't find a job when I first graduated. So I ended up going to McDonald's and applying for a job. I went to McDonald's and I went to Blockbuster Video. And I pulled into the parking lot of McDonald's. I got an interview and got hired, and I just could not get out of the car. I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, I spent a lot of money for this degree. I got to figure this out. So I ended up finding a job, uh, a job fair, and then I was introduced to one of the ladies. She worked in HR at Children's Services, and that's kind of how my career started. And then I worked in Children's Services, made some connections there, and then I was eventually able to transition into school social work. Worked in a lot of different positions within the field, and then in 2018 I started my private practice, and then I've been doing that since 2018. And then when COVID hit is when I really went all in online, and then I started my YouTube channel, and then started learning more about marketing, and then just started growing my presence online.
Yeah, and you have a big presence. One thing I've been impressed is, you're able to. One thing I haven't been able to achieve really with podcasting and even social media is, getting people engaged in the live recordings and live events and things like that. I think part of it's I'm busy and whatnot. I don't prepare very well, but I've
Yeah.
just been utterly impressed when I popped in on a couple of your sessions. You got people that are actively engaged. People are commenting, asking you questions. And so, first of all, thanks because you're out there helping social workers. I think a lot of the things you mentioned that you struggled with early on, social workers, new graduates are all struggling in those areas. Not all, but many of them are struggling in those
Lot.
areas. So
Mm-hmm.
it's needed. People have the questions, and sometimes they don't get asked, or they don't get answered, I should say, throughout your education. And sometimes you don't know to ask until afterwards.
Exactly. And that's what I found to be true for myself. It was like, I know if I struggled with this trying to navigate my career, then it had to be other social workers who were experiencing the same thing. So that's what I started making my YouTube videos about, was how to navigate your career, how to nail your interview, how to make sure that your resume is, in place so that you're able to secure the roles that you want, how to make sure that you're handling confidentiality, that you have the language to explain to clients. So everything that I wanted to know, where I was someone who was like, I didn't want to be embarrassed by asking my supervisor certain things because I thought it would speak to my level of competence. So all the things that I knew I wouldn't want to go to my supervisor and ask because it would make me look like I didn't know what I was doing, those were the types of videos that I started to make on YouTube. And I think that's the reason why it resonated with people, because they had a space to ask those questions where they didn't feel judged or like, their role would be in jeopardy.
Yeah, that's great. And like I said, it's so much needed. I'm going to share your Instagram here just a second. I mean, not your
Okay.
Instagram, your YouTube here.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you.
but in the meantime, I wanted to talk. We'll answer a lot of the. We'll talk about all those subjects that you just brought up in a little bit. But I just wanted to
Mhm.
mention to everybody and do a little storytelling about how we met. I was actually surprised that the NASW had reached out to me because I'm a little bit, I don't know, counterculture in
Yeah.
what sense, and when
Yeah.
it comes to the NASW. But
Mhm.
they invited me, and it was a really good experience. And one of the things that I liked about it best was that the folks that they had us lined up, the three or four of us, I guess there were four of us total and three of us on that panel that were
Mhm.
lined up there in the, I don't know what they called us, the influencer section or something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody was really cool and were very different and had very unique, I don't know what you want to say, services or media and opportunities that they were offering with different unique backgrounds. And I was just utterly impressed. Whoever it
Mhm.
was, what's his name? What's the guy's name that reached out? I'm interviewing him later. I can't think of his name.
You gave it a B.
I
I
can't think
can't
of his
remember
name.
either.
Anyways, he was cool too. He was helpful. I was
Yeah.
really impressed at how they set it all up. How was the
Mhm.
experience for you over there?
It was really good. I felt the same way that you did, because I'm someone who, when I got online and was doing research about marketing and just seeing how other industries were using social media, I was like, our profession, like we need to get with it. Like social media is like taking everything by storm, and we were still like operating in a very antiquated way. So I had been making content on Instagram, like, and tagging the NASW, like social work content creation is going to be a thing. I was making those videos back in like 2023. So I was like trying to get them to see like this wave is coming. People are going to want, social workers specifically are wanting to start using social media online, like a lot of other industries and professions. Nurses were using it, teachers were using it, lawyers were using it. Like, it was so many industries. And I'm like, okay, so we got to learn how this works for podcasts, for courses, for digital products, to build our communities, to speak about the things that matter, to do social justice work. Like, it was so many opportunities for us to be able to utilize social media. So when the NASW reached out, I was like, yes, this is exactly what we need. We need for social workers to see these different paths to where they can leverage their skill sets. And it doesn't have to be within a traditional 9 to 5 or a micro, meso, or macro level role. You can really use your voice to build a community, to push forward a cause, to bring attention to issues that are happening in the world. And you don't have to worry about your employer, firing you or demoting you, or making you feel like your
Mhm.
voice doesn't matter. Like, this is about you designing a career that you want. And the internet and social media is an amazing way for social workers to do that. So I was
Yeah.
excited. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and people were interested, right? Like I think in that because we had a pretty big audience, we were there. I don't know, if,
Oh,
not the keynote, but right after the keynote in the main hall, and it was
yeah.
full. And I had so many people that came up to me and said, that they were just kind of inspired by it, and they'd been thinking about dabbling in the area, and that we just kind of gave them permission to do it, if that makes sense, or maybe
Yeah.
motivated them to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
And that was another thing that stood out to me at the conference, that a lot of people have the desire to do something, but they are burdened by fear. Like, they allow fear to get in the way. Like, is this ethical? Is this going to violate boundaries, or how do I do it and still, um, uphold myself professionally? So I noticed that a lot at the conference. Like people had these secret desires. Like they will pull us to the side and say, they wanted to do this, but they were really nervous and scared about doing it. So with that, I just wanted to encourage every social worker, like, don't allow yourself to be led by fear. Find your own voice, find the champion for yourself in the same way we've learned how to champion for our clients.
Yeah. That's such a great message. And because social work has this thing about being meek about it. You hear everyone saying, there's no money. We'll talk about this later, but there's no money
Yeah.
in social work, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. But like, I look at it completely different. And I believe in, that words have power. So you should talk about it in a way that you want it to be, or that you think it should be. And that way you're not being, like enslaved or chained up by the ideas that are negative that are already there, if that makes sense. And so you got to talk, you got to talk it, you got to walk it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep. I totally agree with that.
Well, one more question I have for you before I turn it over to Christie for a minute. But we were part of that panel, like I said, and that was with Lashana Alfred was on there, and then the leader of it was Dr. Jonathan Singer, which shout out to him too, because he was just really nice and really helpful. I remember I went out there early and he was just so nice to me.
Yeah, he
And
was.
then, by the way, that guy's name I was thinking of, Kyle Hillman.
Kyle, yeah.
Kyle did a great job at putting the group together.
He did.
But after the conference, Dr. Singer reached out to us, the three of us, me, Manicka, and Lashana, and asked us to kind of co-author an article with him. So I'm going to put that right here. And one of the things, so he polled the people at the that were there at our panel and asked them who they looked to for influence in social work or something like that. And none of us were on the list, and Jonathan was on there. Dr. Singer was on there like twice, but for the most part, it was like half NASW and half Brene Brown. And Brene Brown's like a celebrity pretty much at this point.
Yeah.
And so what did you think about that? Like, I think that social workers need to turn and rely on each other a little bit more, especially based on that data, because it sounds like they wanted to, but maybe they were unsure about it.
Yeah. So I told my niece about that too. And when I mentioned it to her, it's so crazy because you get wrapped up in everything that you're doing. Because on YouTube, I've grown my following to 30,000 subscribers. But for me to be in that room, and then it's like I'm in my little corner of Instagram and YouTube doing my thing, but it was a whole room full of people who hadn't even been exposed to me or my content or my message or what I'm trying to do for social work or the social work profession and the social work community in general. So I was inspired. Like I have hundreds, thousands of more people to reach with my message because I've not even touched the tip of the iceberg if I'm not even on the list yet. So I'm over here like doing my thing with this 30,000. Like, girl, no, you you got some work to do. So I felt inspired. Like I need to really tap into the NASW and their network so that other social workers know that the opportunities and the things that we discuss are available for them just like they're available for us. And it also made me realize that we still operate in a lot of silos within the profession. So you have your NSW group, you have your NABSW, you have your Black Girls in Social Work, you have, all these different pockets of social workers, and we kind of don't talk to each other, don't know what the other one is doing. And if we don't, get into spaces like this and get into community with other groups, we miss the opportunity to be connected with people who can actually hear our message and respond to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even further, those niches even further are like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn would be the outlier. Like the people on Instagram and LinkedIn are typically completely different audiences, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I've been spending a lot of time on TikTok because this is just so fun over there. So it's like you can just kind of be yourself. It's more relaxed. You don't have to really feel like you have to be on, like on YouTube. It's like more production. So I've been enjoying TikTok a lot.
Well, I want to introduce Christie. I meant to get to you sooner. I didn't realize the intro was going to go, our little introductory conversation was going to go that long.
It's okay.
But I'm very happy to be joined by Christie Robinson. She's joining us from Tennessee. Christie's a senior in our social work program and working with us on some practicum project stuff. And so I'm very happy to have Christie. I've loved you since the day you stepped into my class. You've always been kind of an overachiever in the way that you participate, like relationally with the students and with me. And so I've always appreciated your presence and your opinions and your thoughts and your experience. Um, but how do you feel about all this, Christy? What have you been thinking about as a senior, and what are the other students talking about? Like, what do you need to know from someone like Manicka?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation. But as I talk to my cohort, where I guess a lot of people are just wanting to know, like, um, how do you get started? Because if I have a lot of classmates that are like me, who are thinking along the lines of, all of the things that we want to accomplish. Like I live in rural Tennessee, and there are so many deficits and so many things that are needed. And so, like, I'm passionate about a lot of things. How do you kind of um, narrow it down and just get started? Like, any advice about how to just kind of get some clarity on where to start?
Hmm, that's a good question. So I really appreciate that question. I think that is a big area within the profession that holds us back because, like you said, we see so many needs in the world and within our own communities, and we sometimes stretch ourselves thin because we want to just have our hand in a whole lot of pots and then have all these different irons in the fire. But the more we do that, we really make it hard to have aligned and focused impact in one area.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say what I recommend for social workers, and what I did was I wrote down everything that I knew that I wanted to do, like everything that I had a passion about. And then I knew that I didn't want to be a social worker who wasn't able to live the type of lifestyle that I wanted. And I considered that in my decision and what I wanted to do. I didn't allow people's opinion of me wanting to have a decent impact, I mean, a decent income to impact what I wanted to do. Because I know the more money and resources that you have, the more you can pour into those programs and institutions and entities that help with those disparities that we see within the community. So I would say make a list of all the interests that you have. If you want to work with youth, if you want to work with the elderly population, if you want to do content creation like what I do through my YouTube channel, if you want to work in the foster care system, like write all of those interests down. And then after you write those interests down, then you want to think about what are your passions. So just because you have an interest in something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're passionate about it. Meaning you will want to make a career out of it. And then you will also find that some of your passions, you just want those things to stay passions. Like you don't want to develop a career from that. So those might be the things where you just want to volunteer and use your skills in that way, but you don't want to burn out from it because you have a desire to do it. So all the interests that you have, and then there's going to be like this Venn diagram. So I would think about it like these concentric circles, I should say. So all of your interests would be in like one circle, and then all of your passions will be in another circle. So what are those things you're passionate about? And then I suggest that you think about the market, because that's the space that's going to tell you what people will actually pay for. So when you're thinking
Mm-hmm.
about your career and all of those three things are coming together, you might have an interest in doing it, but the market is not going to pay for it. So then you have to think
Right.
about, if I do this thing, the market is saying it's not a lot of value in terms of what they're willing to pay for this. So I don't know that I want to invest my time in doing this for my profession. And if you have a passion for it and then you have an interest for it and the market says that they don't want to pay for it, those are where you get like your passion projects, or like those become a starving artist, meaning you're interested in it and you have a passion in it, but the market is saying, no, we don't want to pay a lot of money for this. So you want to look at the place where those three things converge. Like, where is the biggest opportunity for you to make the amount of money that you would want to make? You're doing it because you have a passion for it and it interests you to where if no one paid you for it, you would still want to do it. So I would say do that, and then identify like what are those top three roles that you would want to do, and then look at organizations within your community where you can use your skill sets to be able to try out the work and then see if you
Mm-hmm.
like it. So I would say volunteer at the agency or organization. If they have a fundraiser or something coming up in your community, I would say volunteer at the fundraiser so you can see the culture of the staff, how they prioritize things, and then use that to like determine if you want to invest your time there. So if you're working at a macro level, I think that could be a really good way to, or at a micro level, that could be a really good way to just see what you like. Now, if you notice that your skill sets, that you're like a really good organizer, you're a natural leader, then you want to do that same process, but you want to think about those macro level roles, like statewide issues or countywide issues that you can use that same those concentric circles and then identify like what would those opportunities be. So that's what I recommend.
Oh, that's good. That's that was that was that was good. Thank you for that. Um, so also
Yeah.
I've looked into your content, and you've got some really great content out there. Thank you for that. Um,
Okay.
so I saw that um, you have a knack for like helping people curate the career that they want.
Yes.
Um, I say all the time in class, I know I have to forge my own path because I just don't see anybody doing it the way that I want to do it.
Yeah.
And even though I don't even know what that looks like for me, I just know that I don't see it. So
Yeah.
what advice would you have for someone like me who just wants to do things kind of, differently, not really
Mhm.
take a traditional approach to social work?
Yeah. So I always suggest and recommend. It sounds like you have a good idea of like what your passion is in terms of where your mission and focus is. I think that's important, like to have that bigger why of what you're doing. So you want to identify that. So when I talked about those concentric circles, I feel like that part needs to be driven by your bigger why. Like, why does this matter to you? Is it because you are wanting to um, play a role in dismantling generational poverty, or you want to make sure that children don't have to suffer in the way that you saw them suffering while you were growing up? Like, whatever that bigger reason is, that has to carry you throughout the work that you're doing. Now, for you, when you're saying that, I'm very big about like introspection. And even if you watch my YouTube channel, I always say helping social workers deepen their level of self awareness and increasing their competence and confidence in the profession. So, your level of self awareness is going to be the thing that's going to like tell you what you need to be doing and what you need to be thinking about. Like, you want to tap into that intuition. Like, what is your self awareness telling you about where it is you want to be and where it is that you're trying to go? So if you're saying to yourself, I don't see what I want to do, or I'm not seeing a path, then the intuition is like, okay, so if I were to create that path, what would those steps look like? And that's something that I walk my mentees through, because we have a 90-day career planner that I walk through with them. And I say, if you were just to give yourself 90 days or 3 months to go all in on this goal or go all in on this idea, what would be those top three priorities that you will focus on that will bring this thing into fruition? So you want to think about for yourself, I don't see this, but I see that. So maybe it's a
Hmm.
piece of a part of what you see. So you would again write down, what is it that you see that is like, okay, this could possibly be it, but it's missing this thing that I
Hmm.
want to do. Then you identify, um, if I were to do it my way, these are the things that I would include. This is what I would want it to look like. This is what my path would look like. And I notice this organization does this or this group does that, but that's not quite what I want to do. So you write down like, what is that gap? And then I would go through that same concentric circles again. These are your interests, these are your skills. Does the market want to pay for it? Because the thing about it is, the market is always already showing you what people are willing to buy. You don't want your thing to be so off the beaten path that you can't make money from it, because then
Hmm.
you're not going to be able to pour back into the causes that you want. If you're wanting to work with youth, for example, and they need uniforms, but you're just off doing this thing off the beaten path that nobody really like wants to purchase or pay for, then it's like you won't have the income and the money to be able to help these kids get uniforms, because it's not creating the interest of people who want to support it. So I always say never forget the market, because that's going to be the people who are going to continue to invest in your idea, whether it's through a business or through your employer. that is going to pay you to be able to continue to do the work. So I would just say identify those gaps, see what you want to do versus what's out there, do that concentric circle idea again, and then see if the market will pay for it. I know my answers might be a little bit non-conventional. But
No, I thought it was
No,
beautiful.
I love that. I love that. I love non-conventional.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were great questions, and I thought it was a beautiful. Both of them were beautiful answers, Manicka. And part of what I love about it is, I think what you're helping folks do is sometimes we have all these ideas and things we think and feel and what we want and desire, but they're
Mhm.
disorganized, and we've been going through maybe our BSW, our MSW, all this licensure, all these things that we're concerned about, and they haven't really had a chance to settle.
Yep.
And I feel like you're helping folks sort that out and make and find clarity in there. And then the other side of it I like is that it's also like basically a practice in manifestation. The more that you're writing these things down and putting it out there, the more likely that those opportunities are going to be will open up for you. And I can say that from personal experience.
Yes.
If you write it down and you put it out there to the world, the universe, God, whatever you're looking at it, however you're looking at it,
Hmm.
I promise you, it will be much more likely to happen. And then, even in your own story, Manicka, right? Like when you're working, you're going through several different, almost generations of social work. Like you're coming through when you're getting being a school social worker, and
Hmm.
you go through the pandemic, and it changed everything, right? And it opened up different doors for you. So my point there is that the things that you're trying to bring about or manifest, maybe that's not there today, Christy, but by the time you're done sorting it all out, it may be there by that point, especially if you've been putting it out there and trying to manifest it, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And then I'll also add to that, one of the things that I did when I first started out in my career, when I was really struggling, trying to find a role, it was a lady in my community. I looked up to her so much. Like she worked for the city. She was articulate. She was bold. She was confident, and she started mentoring me. And that was another thing that I advocate for is mentorship, because she told me, I went to her and I said, I'm not nobody notices me, like I want to do really big things in the community. I want my name to be out there. I want to be known for having an impact. And then she said, how long has it been since you graduated? She's like, I just graduated with my master's degree. She's like, you haven't even gotten started yet. Like all you have to do is identify what you want to do and stay consistent on that thing that you want to do, and you'll build a name for yourself. So I was at the point where I was thinking I wanted everything to happen so fast and so quickly. I didn't value the process. And that was one of the things that she taught me, was everything doesn't have to come now, but if you she also taught me the importance of networking. If you get into rooms with the people who are doing the things that you want to do, and working on the causes that you where you want to work, and volunteering and showing up, and putting your name out there, people are going to eventually see your work. And then she said, make sure you do quality work. And that's what I committed myself to doing. I started volunteering for a lot of organizations. I started putting my names in rooms where I wanted to meet certain people. I started volunteering on political campaigns. And then through doing all of those things, like she was right. Like over time, I was able to build a lot of great connections in my community, to where now in my town, if you think about, who is someone in the community is an advocate for mental health, who works with kids, like a lot of people would mention the work that I do in the community. So I would definitely say make sure that you're aligning with people who see your vision, who see your goals, who speak positivity into you, not telling you what you can't do and what's not possible, but like what Christian was saying, that you are speaking gratitude every day, not for what's not there, but for what's coming. Like I absolutely agree. That's important.
Yeah, such great advice. I can't wait. I'm gonna make
Yeah, I think
videos. Oh, sorry, Christy. Go ahead, Christy.
yeah, gratitude is really, really, really high up there for me, because I
Yeah.
know that just like Professor Stella was saying, if you can um I really believe in manifestation. I
Yes.
think that if you have a clear picture of what it is that you want, and you believe it, you actually can achieve it. I
Mhm.
wholeheartedly believe in that.
Yes. And I think as social workers, all of us should, because our profession is great in that it integrates not only like the human behavior in a social environment, but it also introduces aspects of psychology as well and social justice, which you just don't get with a lot of professions. So when you talk about moving the needle and moving communities or groups or individuals through a change process, like our profession fully embodies all of those elements. And we know the
Hmm.
psychology in manifestation, how if you visualize something, your body doesn't know the difference between whether it's real or perceived. And it's going to respond like the thing that you're saying is actually true, whether you believe that it's something fearful or whether you believe that it's something aspirational. So it's been so many studies around the power of visualization and being able to say things and bringing that truth into your realm just by speaking that out loud. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, such a great conversation. And with speaking, staying kind of on the same tune, thinking about the seniors that they're in the, going through their practicum right now. They're
Mhm.
approaching, halfway through their fall semester of their practicum year. So they're thinking about grad school and what they're going to do after. And it's
Yeah,
complicated, right? Because it's the most busy time, probably one of the most busiest times of folks' years, but then you still have to stay on top of it because a lot of those applications, might come in December or January or February. So
yeah.
what advice do you have for those students that are thinking about that right now and trying to balance whether it's worth going for an MSW, advanced standing, going into the field? What would you say to the students?
I 100% recommend finding a program where you can do an advanced standing. That's what I did. And it's going to cut time off of how long you're going to be in your master's program. And you can transfer a lot of your credits over if you find an institution where you can do that. So that's one thing. I highly recommend an advanced standing program. And then while you're preparing for your program, I would say be thinking about the area of socialization, the area of specialization. I know that might be early because, like you were saying, Christy, it might be a lot of areas of interest. But I would say just start thinking about it. You don't have to nail it down immediately, but thinking about how you can start positioning yourself to gain a base of knowledge that you can start building on. I think that's really important. So for me, working in schools, by the time I got to my third year um, of working in a school district, like I had a lot of expertise around kids' behavior, aspects that impede or interfere with academic success. And from that expertise, then you have the ability to kind of create other income streams for yourself while you're preparing for your MSW degree. Because I know sometimes when you're preparing for your degree, money is tight. Your internship is not allowing you to work and go to school. Like you're having to make some really tough choices around where you can even do your internship because sometimes you can't do it with your employer. Or if you do it with your employer, you like worry about how that's going to be perceived if you can't work the certain hours. It's just so complicated with how it is set up now to try to get all of those hours for graduate school, to work full time, to have a family. So I recommend, because social media has been such an impactful thing within my life, if you're able to nail down an area of expertise while you're starting within the profession, you can literally start doing things in your own free time that can start putting money in your pocket while you're navigating your um, master's program, and then you won't feel stuck like you don't have a lot of options. So, but time management is going to be a huge priority. You want to make sure that you're looking at the things that are going to yield you the best return on your time. So that's also going to be important. And then I always recommend just staying in community because it can be isolating. You can feel like, why am I doing this? Is it going to be worth it? Am I going to be able to find a job? Especially when people live in rural areas. Like I talked to a lot of people in Alabama and Mississippi. They're like, ain't no opportunities here. Like, what am I supposed to do when I graduate? So staying in community is really important. And then how we were talking earlier about the power of the internet, when you learn how to leverage the internet, it expands your mind so much beyond I live in this little town in Mississippi or I'm in Alabama, because now you have access to billions of people on the internet, and you want to conceptualize that in a way that it doesn't overwhelm you. So those are some things I would recommend.
Yeah, and I would say too, when you're um, find a when you're looking for the right grad school, something to look for is a professor that you can connect with and align with, even if it's just one. A good ally
Yeah.
within your graduate program can make all the world a difference when you need something, because professors are super busy too, depending on where they're at. You know, they got so many students and so many things going on. If you can find an ally that recognizes you and pays attention and gives you that space, you'll be so much more, set up for success. And one other nugget is, when I was going to grad school, I went to University of Hawaii, and I couldn't pay for it. The cost was like, for out of state tuition, was like double what a student loan was. And so obviously I couldn't afford to make that work. And so I went there and I applied for every single graduate assistant job in the entire university. And there were a lot of them. And two of them offered me a job, and it saved me like $100,000 in tuition. So keep that word in mind, graduate assistant, or sometimes they're called teaching assistant. So oftentimes social work departments don't offer them, but the other departments do, and they don't restrict a social work student per se, and they actually might like a social work student because of the skill set to come over there. So those are things to look at. Would you say when you're applying for grad school, would you say, try to nail it down to one application? Would you advise them to fill out multiple applications, because they all come with probably a price tag and letters of recommendation and things like that?
Yeah, I would absolutely say apply for as many as your budget can afford. But that to me also is the importance of kind of focusing on those advanced standing programs. I would prioritize those programs because that's going to get you through your graduate program and then into the field quickly. And then, like what you were saying, Christian, about looking for those opportunities in the graduate departments, find schools that offer those types of opportunities because some schools, their budgets are limited. They don't have a lot of money to kind of help support students. So that would absolutely be a priority. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend prioritizing what's going to help you get finished quicker, owing the least amount of money. So yeah.
You have any questions about grad school, Christy?
I just I'm I'm on the fence about grad school. I I really want to, but I don't. I've got a lot going on in my life right now, and part of me is just wondering, is it worth it? Like,
Yeah.
um, again, I live in rural Tennessee, lots of deficit, but not a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's I don't know. I guess Tennessee hasn't caught on to how much workers are really needed,
Mm-hmm.
and so the market is not great here. Um, but again, I found a program that I said if I decide to pursue graduate school, this is probably the way I'm going to go because they have block tuition for everybody, and they also it's a block tuition for 9 credits, and anything beyond that is free. So, and it's a really reputable school. The University of Kentucky is a really reputable school, and they they offer all of the licensure that I am interested in. Like they have all of the things. I'm just wondering, is it going to be worth my time? Sometimes I really feel like I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
Um, Especially with the way that things are happening in this country now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really wrestle with, am I wasting my time? But I really know that, there's a need. The need is great, but
Right.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
struggle with a lot of those things.
I think I always am interested in that perspective when I hear social workers say that. And I know I was there too. And I have wrestled with that idea of wasting my time. And I think for me, when I think about that, a couple things come to mind. So one is I think because our curriculum within social work is so catered around micro, meso, and macro level social work, we have this bubble that we think only
Yes.
exists, that we can only do this type of work. And we cut ourselves off from other types of possibilities to use our degree. Our degree is so versatile that you
Mm-hmm.
literally don't have to just look for a social work role in order to use your skill sets. So, like for me, I worked in higher ed and alumni relations, which is a career that I love and I highly recommend. It's social work related, but they weren't looking for a social worker per se. So if you are just thinking like I need to find a social work role, and then now I know graduate school you have to like work in these certain positions because you have to get your practicum hours and those sorts of things. I understand that. But even outside of alumni relations, which is another one of those adjacent roles, even if you look at political roles, like how I talked about how I worked on a political campaign, sometimes we don't even consider working at our city, state, county level government or working on like certain causes, issue causes that come up within our community. Sometimes they have organizations who hire um, field organizers and people who go out and canvas in neighborhoods around political issues. Those can also be opportunities that you look into for a career opportunity. So I think we have to think outside of that micro, meso, macro level social work practice and think about what are those roles that can be adjacent to the profession that we can still do using our skill sets, but we don't necessarily have to stay within those traditional social work roles because we can do literally do so much. And this goes
Yeah,
back
I
to
think
the is it worth it that you were saying because only you can answer that question, is it worth it, and it's going to start from that why that I was
mhm,
mentioning about earlier, like whatever
yeah.
that why is that's driving you, the reason why you want to do the work. There are going to be a lot of ways for you to impact that community, whoever that group or clientele is that you want to work with. There's going to be a lot of ways that you can work with that group, and it doesn't have to look a specific way. You can literally create it to be what you want it to be if you know like where to go to look or how to leverage social media and the internet, how to build a community. Like there is so many possibilities and options.
Yeah, and in my heart, I know that it's worth it. I know it's
Yeah.
worth it. I just feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to not do social work. Like
Yeah.
even if I never got a social worker degree, I don't know how to not do social work because that is
Yep.
the way I was raised. My mom was a social worker, but she did not have a social work degree. She she was a teacher. She was a Head Start teacher. So like the women in my family, they did this kind of work. So I just don't know how to not do it.
Yeah.
So I even though I feel like that sometimes, I know that it's worth it because I know what needs to be done,
Yeah.
and I can't not do it, you know?
Of course. Yeah. And I think with this is something else that I think as social workers we have to be very careful about. And I think we sometimes put ourselves in this mindset. We have to be careful not to become a martyr to the work. Because oftentimes when we believe that, this is what we're supposed to do, and this is our mission, this is our focus, we sometimes take our own self-interest down to the bottom of the totem pole and prioritize the work, and then we're tired, we're burnt out, we're frustrated, we don't feel like we have the capacity to do the things that we want to do, that to help in the way that we want to help. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul and finding out ways to help this person, that person, but then we're at a deficit. Like we got to really be careful about that because we will pedestalize the work that we do, like we'll prioritize that to be the major thing, and then we'll neglect all the ways that we need to be caring for and prioritizing our own mental health, our own financial stability, because we're so passionate about the work. And I think that's a balance that we have to be able to have as helpers. Like at heart, we're helpers. Like we want to help everybody, but we can't lose sight of helping ourselves in that process.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you said that too, because um, that's part of what I say, what I mean when I say when I see how people are doing it, that's not what I want. Like, I want to be able to help people, but charity starts at home. I want my kids to be okay too.
Mm-hmm.
I want my family to have everything that they need. I want to be able to help them first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm your ideas about non-traditional social work have really they're really got my wheels turning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad to be a part of this conversation because it's making me um think in a different direction.
Yeah. And you know what I say to social workers, and I'm glad that that's the case because I think we need more conversations like this. And, and this is what I say. If you go into, let me back up. So I teach social workers around three phases of professionalism. I talk about the career phase, the scaffolding phase, and the social work CEO phase. So when you're navigating your career, you're going to land in one of those three areas. So in the career phase, that's when you're working in your 9 to 5. That's primarily what you're doing. In the scaffolding phase, that's when you decide, okay, I got a level of skill now. I feel like I can do something for myself. Or we sometimes say I'm gonna start a side hustle. I'm gonna start a business. So for me, I started a consulting company when I got me a little skill behind what I was doing. So then you go into the scaffolding phase where you say, okay, I want to start something for myself. Then after the scaffolding phase, then you go into the social work CEO phase, and then you say, I think I can go all in on this. I think I can make a career out of just doing this. And then that's when you're in the social work CEO phase. So one of the things that I think is important is you know where you want to end up on what I call the social work success path. Do you want to stay in the career phase? Do you want to move to the scaffolding phase? Or do you want to go to the social work CEO phase? That's going to help you navigate your career because you know where it is that you want to be. So if you know I got to start in the career phase because I got to get my skills up, then only commit to staying in the career phase for 3 years, 4 years, however long you need so you can develop the skill set that you can then take into the scaffolding phase when you're ready to start building something for yourself. If you stay in the career phase and you're just going to all these different jobs and roles and everything is disjointed and you don't have something that you can be known for, like if the community says we need somebody who can focus on kids or the homeless community and your name isn't coming up as an expert, then that means you're just bopping around in a career phase and you don't have any focus. So you want to use that career phase to think about what can you do to position yourself as somebody that your community can call on if they need an expert. That's when you can start charging for speaking engagements. That's when you can start hosting workshops in your community. That's when you can start running community drives and, putting your name out there as somebody who's making a difference. So then you want to take that expertise and then decide, like, do I want to try to go all in on this or do I just want to stay working in my career and then just having something on the side where I'm building? So that's something else that I recommend for social workers. Like, know where you want to end up on that success path.
You got that somewhere on your website, Manicka? Where can
Mm-hmm.
people find that? What's the best place for them to look for that?
What's on my YouTube channel? It's a video. I have on like red. The whole video is like the thumbnail is red, and it says what's your success path or what area of social work are you in, something like that. But I got this hair on, and it's like me pointing to the side. So you should see it. It's like a red video. I can't think of the title right now.
Yeah, all right, cool. I'll share that. And then I was just gonna say that the one of the most beautiful things about what you said is just encouraging social workers to be the best version of themselves and to take care of themselves because so many times people are burnt out, overburdened with overworked with clients or caseloads or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the case may be, and they, like I said, they go through this gauntlet of BSW, MSW licensure, and then they got to work to pay off their student loans, and
Yeah.
they're not taking care of
Mhm.
themselves. And the very best social worker that is able to help other people is the one that is thriving within themselves, their own home, their own family. Like Christy said, taking care of your own family. If
Yeah.
what does it mean? What does it matter to be a social worker if you can help other people, but you can't take care of yourself and your family? You know what I mean? It's just so
Exactly.
Right.
important.
Yeah.
And one other thing I just wanted to add was that going back to the topic about MSW, I've always looked at it like this: like you got to get 4-year degree, however long it takes you to get your BSW.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big level up, right? Well, pretty much 1 year of advanced standing, although it's a lot of work and it's a lot in that year, you pretty much level up to the same in the same way and to the same degree. And so for that 4 years, you only got to do one more year, and you can level up the same amount So I think that, I mean, maybe not for everybody in the world,
Mhm.
but it's definitely worth doing. And then in the chat, David had reflected that he's in rural Alaska, and so there's not a lot of social work opportunities there, but it makes him want to keep going because there's funding for it. And I would say too to you, David, is that, you know, go on and get your MSW and maybe even your, licensed clinical social work, get your LCSW license. And then you never know what kind of opportunities, David. You could be running all kinds of things down there in rural Alaska where you're needed. I mean, even thinking about the crisis with the weather that just went on, they're
Mhm.
most definitely going to need social workers. And so you might find yourself in a unique position where you can truly level up by putting those letters by your name and acquiring that experience, David. So,
Yeah.
I highly encourage you to do it. And if I can help you with that moving forward, just let me know.
Yeah. And I think that could be an amazing opportunity, probably in Alaska, to connect with government. Because that to me is probably going to be the place where the biggest resource allocation will come from. So if you're able to, and that's another important point of connecting with government, is seeing where the money is going. Like if you're in social work and you're doing social service work, you want to see like where are these resources being allocated within our community, and you get that by going to your city council, city commission meetings, volunteering for your mayor's campaign the next time they run for office, or your governor. And then you get to be in the room with when they're having these conversations. You get to see what they're prioritizing. You get to see how they're making decisions. Like that stuff is invaluable. So, and this is the thing, oftentimes the social workers, we feel like we have to figure it out all on our own. Like you don't have to figure it out on your own. Just stay connected to people who have gone down this path or who've had these same struggles as you and can help give you a little bit of guidance and direction. And then you take a lot of the guesswork out of what you could be doing next because you're not trying to figure it out. So I would definitely say, find out where the resources are going. Look within your community to see who those top nonprofits are that are getting all the resources, and see, who's donating to those organizations, and then try to make connections with those companies or businesses, so you can kind of get a feel for what's happening in your community.
Yeah, great advice. And I think the sky's the limit in that regard. We were
Yeah.
watching one of your videos in our practicum seminar yesterday, I think, day before yesterday, and it was about, you were talking about how to advocate for higher pay. Um, and I mentioned this earlier, but social work has this like myth about it that you got to be meek and you got to be willing. You should, maybe even that you're not virtuous if you don't,
Yeah.
if you want to make money and if you're in it for the money. I'm not saying go into there, but might be better fields to go into if it's all about the money. But there
Hmm.
is money to be
Mhm.
made in social work, and that's on a larger scale, outside the box, but also in the when you're applying and going through the interview process for a job, right? That's what you were talking about, is how to advocate for higher pay. And I don't have a ton of experience with that, but I've advised a couple students that have asked me to ask
Hmm.
for more money, and all of them got it without any
Yay.
question. So, what
Good.
what do you, what are your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree that social workers should be doing that. I think it's important for social workers to know how to do it, because I know a lot of them want to do it, but I think we got to know how, because I hear a lot of social workers say, I want to be paid my worth. I want to be paid my worth. When you're going in to negotiate a pay increase, it's not about your worth. And that's one of the things that I say, your worth is inherent. We have inherent worth as individuals created by God and the universe, whatever you believe. So when you're communicating about wanting to get a pay increase to a company, they don't care about your worth as a person. They want to know about the value that you have that's going to justify them paying you the amount of money that you're asking for. So if you can demonstrate value, and for an agency, value is oftentimes output and outcome, impact. How were people served? What was the quality of service? If you're able to demonstrate that at a high level and quantifiable levels, that's what you want to be able to speak to in terms of a value proposition. That's what I call it. In a professional space, when you're thinking about negotiating, there's a value exchange that's happening, not a wealth to like worth to value exchange, but your skill set has value to it. A company is looking for how that value matches what they need. So that's what you want to be able to speak to. So what percentages can you mention? What numbers can, so that's what I mean by quantifiable. What percentages can you speak to? What numbers can you say? How many people did you bring out to an event? How many people did you recruit? How much money did you make? How did you help the bottom line in any way? So you want to be able to speak to those things and have that justify. The fact that you got a master's degree is not a justification for a raise. The fact that you just got your independent license, that's not a justification for a raise. So think about the value proposition in that exchange as opposed to your credentials and your education, because that's not the thing that's always weighted most when they're thinking about um, increasing your pay. And then I would say whatever they're asking, like if it's 60,000, I would say try to go up another five and get over that fear of that's a lot of money. No, if they have it, it's not a lot of money. And if they have it and your value matches what they're willing to pay, then ask for it. The worst that they can say is no. It doesn't make you look greedy. It doesn't make it look like you're unappreciative. It means that you recognize the value that you can bring to the company. And that's how you want to articulate it.
Yeah, empower yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, tell us about your the design your career thing that you got going on.
Yeah, so that's my mentorship program. Thank you for having the link and allowing me to talk about that. So I have a 3-month mentorship program for social workers. And this is for social workers who are wanting to connect with me so I can walk you through what it looks like to create your career plan, to identify your 90-day goals, to stay focused on those goals, to identify those strategic priorities that you want to be focused on, whether or not that's to land an interview, whether or not that's to ramp up your resume, if you're in the scaffolding phase, whether that's to start creating your first digital product, or if you want to start leveraging your voice online. Maybe you feel like you have a lot to say and you don't just want to put content out there and not know how to monetize it. So I show you how to do that. So this whole idea where I talked about the career phase, scaffolding phase, and the social work CEO phase, and you identifying where you are, that's what we do in the mentorship program. So I have one girl in there now. She works a 9 to 5, but she wanted to start a nonprofit organization. So that's what we're doing. I have one of the modules in there is how to start a 501c3 nonprofit organization, because how I mentioned I did consulting when I started doing the scaffolding phase for myself. That's what I helped organizations do, was to start their nonprofit. So now I can take my expertise in helping nonprofits and then help her start hers. So within inside of Design Your Career, it's the entire module there where I give you all the forms, all the documents, all the board requirements that you need to start your organization. And then we meet once a week, and we talk about your goals, where you are, where you're getting stuck mentally, like what are those mental blocks that you're having, and then what type of support can I provide you if you feel like you need additional help. So my role as a mentor is to make the path easier for you. So if I have a resource, if I have a connection, if I have anything that you need that's going to help make this path easier for you, that is inside the mentorship program. And I only made it for 3 months, so it's not like a huge commitment, because one of the models that I use for my planning is called the 12-week year. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that book. But it talks about how you can start not planning annually, but breaking your time down into 4 12-week years. So that's how we focus our planning within the mentorship. So you only make a 3-month commitment. If you find like this was helpful, I think I can go another 3 months, then you sign up for another 3. If you're like, okay, I got some momentum, then you can sign up for another 3. So it's not like this year-long commitment where you're kind of locked in. You can just start the 90 days, see how you feel, and then do another 90 days if it's a good fit.
Yeah, I appreciate that you offer that, and I appreciate you sharing it with us. I think it's something that so many people need. I think, when I was at a good example of this is I was asking my students, we got questions for Manicka. She's like the most practical person I could have on as far as like helping jumpstart out of where everyone's at in their degree and getting started. But I think that people are so, I don't want to say use overburdened, overwhelmed. Just I don't think any of those words fit perfectly, but they have so much going on that they don't know
Yeah.
the questions to ask right now. And when I think
Yeah.
back to myself, I wouldn't have known if you'd have given me access to you. I just wouldn't have known. And so I
Mhm.
think it's just incredible that you're out there, so that when folks are getting out there and they're starting to settle and they're like, okay, I do have these questions and they do need answers and I do need help. And you're somebody who has walked through that gauntlet already. So I just appreciate that that's out there for you. And I wish that, you know, those kind of opportunities, that I would have known about those kind of opportunities when I was going through it, because it can be a lonely road. You know?
It can. I totally agree. And then, I know a lot of people are in a different Facebook groups, which I'm still a part of, a lot of those Facebook groups. And even with that, it's like you don't still get that one-on-one. Like I meet with the people who are in the mentorship, we meet every week on Thursday. So it's not like you're like throwing your question into a Facebook group and hoping somebody answers. Like we drill down on the mindset things that are getting in the way, all the things that you don't know what to ask. And then with me having a clinical background, like of course we can work through this. Like this is not something where you need to stay stuck. We use the same skills in the mentorship that I would use if I was helping a client who was stuck and not knowing what to do and how to move forward. It's just a change process. Like that's all we're using is the foundations of a change process when you in that contemplation stage, pre-contemplation, all those phases that you go through to go from being stuck to taking action. That's what we walk through. So you don't have to feel like you don't know what to ask. You just got to show up. Like you just got to show up for yourself, and then we figure out the rest.
Yeah, that's great, and I love how you threw in, you know, some solution-focused interviewing in there, because that's what we're going through right now. And I always
Yeah.
talk to my students, one of the best, and I mean, you embody
Yeah.
this in almost everything that you do. One of the best ways you can become a better social worker is self-application. So you learn
Mm,
these skills, right? But apply them to yourselves. If you've done it and helped yourself out and can see it through the lens for yourself, you're much more likely to be able to see that lens for other
ex-
people.
exactly. I literally use my social work skills every day. Like all of them. So when I'm talking about problem solving, self talk, like I talk to myself all the time. Everything that I know about neuroscience and moving my body when I'm needing to make decisions, I'm outside walking and thinking through things, being in an alignment with my body and knowing how it's responding, that my stress response is heightened, and then what I need to do to bring it down through breath work. Like I use everything within my career. Now I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Like I still have a lot of things that I need to work on, and I'm doing that every single day. But I totally agree with you. Like the things that I know and that I've learned, I apply those things to myself first. And then that makes me a better clinician. It makes me a better mentor and an overall better person. So I agree. Self application is so important.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, just for the way that you talk about yourself and talk about this, I have so much respect for you, Manicka. Like,
Oh,
a lot
thanks.
of social workers don't think about things like movement, you know, and about understanding your body and the way that it's reacting, or, you know, taking a breath and learning about, or even practicing, you know, maybe more explicit or whatever breath work. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, you're doing it, and so I just wanted to say that I highly encourage anybody that's, you know, on the cuff about, you know, whether, you know, you could hook up with Manicka and have her help you or coach you in this kind of way. I just wanted to say that you should go for it. And I'll put all these links in the description too for folks that are listening. Most people will listen afterwards if you want
Okay,
to
sounds
connect with Manicka. What about you, Christy? You've been quiet for a while. Any questions brewing or anything we didn't get to?
good. Uh-oh, did it freeze?
Oh, I will. I'm incredibly grateful for this conversation. Um, I really, really love your approach to this. I chose social work because it is a broad field, and I know that there's a lot um, that I can do with it. But again, like you said, we just kind of get stuck in the bubble and looking at things just from like within the bubble and not really understanding that there's so much that we can do. You know, there's such a broad spectrum of what we can do.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm with you too,
So
Christy.
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I really resonate with what you said about being a social worker. Like I was a social worker before I even knew the term. So I
Hmm.
get it. So I'm glad that I was able to be here with you and share my experience, and I'm definitely grateful that you got something from it.
Yeah, you know, I think a common thread when we us social workers talk amongst each other is that it's kind of like social work chose us, right? And some of us
Yeah,
even try to get away or slip away,
Hmm.
and it pulls you in because that's what you're called to do. So
yeah.
you got to do it, right? If you're supposed to be
Hmm.
doing something else, you'd be doing it. So you're here doing this.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
Well, I just want to thank you again for just a wonderful conversation and for all the opportunities you're offering and helping other people be their best selves. Anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about, Manicka, or any last words that you have?
No, I think we covered everything. I just want to, I sent a note out to, I have an email list, of course, if you sign up for anything that I offer or online, and I sent the email out, it was just a note of encouragement that I sent out to my email list today. And then I'll just kind of say the same thing to people listening, whether now or when you watch later. Just be encouraged. Know that just because you don't have everything figured out now, it doesn't mean that you can't figure things out. Be patient with yourself. Know that this is a process. This is your career journey, meaning it's going to take different ebbs and flows. You're going to hit some milestones and some things that are going to feel right, and then you're going to feel like you're messing up. You made the wrong decision. You self doubt, second guessing yourself. You're going to feel regret, but just allow yourself to go through the process. Stay in connection with people who believe in this profession just as much as you do. um, be careful who you listen to online so that you're not feeding into a lot of these negative ideas about the NASW or the social work profession in general. Like, just stay in a good mental space, because you're going to need that to continue to show up and do good work. So get in community. Don't be hard on yourself. You're not behind. You can do this work. Like, you can absolutely do this work, and you can create the career that you want without feeling like you have to stay stuck or live in you know, live in a way where you feel like it's below your means and you can't have a sufficient financial lifestyle for your family.
Yeah,
So that's what I
absolutely.
wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a beautiful way to close it, Manicka. I want to say thanks to everybody that's here in the live audience and that listens afterwards. Like I said, everything we talked about will be in the description if you're looking for something or want to connect in a certain way. Thank you, Christie. Very much a pleasure to have you here, and it adds a whole nother dynamic into the podcast. And so I really appreciate you. Look forward to next week as well. Christie will be here next Friday too. So thank you, Christie. And thank you, Manicka, especially. It's just been
Yeah,
a privilege to talk to you. And the more I've learned about you, when you meet somebody like virtually, and then you have some ideas about them, and you get to know more about them. I just
yeah.
want to, and different reactions with different people. But everything I learn about you, like I just gain respect and admiration and gratitude that you're out there for
Thank
folks.
you.
So thank you very much for who you are
Thank
and what you do.
you. I appreciate that. And same to you. I appreciate all the work that you do. Your kind spirit is just so calming. And, we need these ideas that oftentimes a lot of people don't, um, they're scared to talk about, and they don't really want to push the envelope and have the types of conversations that you have. So I appreciate you and getting to know you better. And I'm looking forward to, growing our professional relationship over time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll most definitely reconnect on other projects and other things in the road. I'm sure we'll probably end up at the same place at the same time moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Christie. All right, Manicka. Everybody in the audience, take care. Have a great day. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
Peace.
you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye.